Hello, I'm Emilie Adin, and I'm the chair of the PIBC Awards Committee. I want to welcome you to this year's awards. And I want to thank all of you who submitted for this year's awards. I know the award committee had a very difficult time in choosing who to recognize this year. And we will be recognizing 10 of the submissions this year, 8 awards and 2 honorable mentions. Now, before I go on to introduce you to this year's MC, I also want to urge any of you who are listening right now to consider submitting for next year's awards. And I also want to thank the PIBC Awards Committee members, a great team of volunteers, for all of the great work that you've done, all the hard work and the energy and time and dedication that you put into this work this year. Now it's my great honor to introduce you to Larry Beasly. He's this year's MC. He's a fellow of the Canadian Institute of Planners, a member of the Order of Canada, and the former co-director of planning for the City of Vancouver. Larry Beasly.
Thank you very much, Emilie. I was really excited to be a part of the jury this year, and I want to thank all my fellow jurors. It was a great, positive discussion that we had because we had some very, very interesting submissions. I tremendously enjoyed looking at those, and I have to say I learned a lot as I went along, and I know my fellow jurors did the same way. And I know that as you get to know these winning submissions, you're also going to learn a lot as well. The Awards for Excellence in Planning really honors the best in our professional planning work undertaken by members in communities and regions right across British Columbia and the Yukon in 5 categories. First is planning practice, and there are 2 categories here for both city and urban areas, and then small town and rural areas. This recognizes the efforts of planners to turn policy into reality. The second is policy planning itself for both city and urban areas and small town and rural areas. That gives us 4 categories, which seeks to honor the development and application of leading edge planning policy. And then finally, there's a section or a category, research and new directions, which includes original studies, reports, or papers that show thorough examination of planning issues, policy, or practice. And there were, as I've already said, many wonderful submissions right across these categories, making the final selection, I'll speak on behalf of the whole jury, a bit difficult for us, but a very, very rewarding process. So let's get right into this year's winners. Let's bring up the PowerPoint so that we can begin to enjoy visually what I'm going to be talking about and telling you about in terms of the winners of this year's awards. In the category of excellence in planning practice, first the city and urban areas. This year's gold winner is the Canada Lands Corporation, MST Development Corporation, and Dialogue for the Heatherlands Rezoning Plan. The Heatherlands Rezoning Project aims to rezone and reimagine an 8.5 hectare site near Vancouver's Cambie Corridor on the unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. That's the MST. The site will become a new neighborhood with 2,600 homes, shops, offices, parks, daycare, and an MST cultural center organized around a forest trail that's reminiscent of paths traveled by ancestors of MST nation members. The process of planning and developing the Heatherlands is being undertaken by a historic joint venture partnership between Canada Lands Corporation, CLC, and MST Development. That's the development body for the MST First Nations. This unique partnership, both between CLC and MST, as well as among the 3 nations themselves, demonstrates a commitment to reconciliation and offers a new relationship and a new planning model for both Indigenous and non-Indigenous governments right across Canada. This was a very innovative scheme. The jury felt that this project was right on the cutting edge. They felt it was compelling in the spirit of reconciliation, And they felt that it demonstrates a collaborative partnership, an approach which embeds First Nations culture, history, identity, and expression in a new master plan community. The full cooperation of a narrative, spirituality, and landscape understanding is a great learning tool for, well, for any municipality and for our continuing partnership with the First Nations across our country.
On behalf of Dialogue, I'd like to gratefully accept this award. This recognition could not have been made possible without the joint venture partnership of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh Nations and Canada Lands Company. I'd like to quickly turn this over to Charlene, Adrian, and Dennis, who are our 3 MST cultural liaisons.
Anta Sasamkin Tanot, Musqueam, Charlene Grant, Musqueam Nation, Heitsapka.
Chekwin Mintomiap, PIBC, Skalotanot Queen Quishaming, Skaholtmish Ochomeo, Chekwin Mintomiap Quis Patnach to Excellence Award.
Ichwa Amasteo, Heights Apka CM, Wannock Quanasqui, Talitsan at Tsleil-Waututh.
Staying in this category, this year's silver winner is the City of New Westminster for municipal regulations to deter renovictions. The City of New Westminster was the first municipality in British Columbia to tackle the issue of renovictions using municipal regulations and is considered a leader among municipalities for its bold and direct approach to protect tenants. In June 2019, the city embedded the business regulations and licensing for rental units bylaw, which offers protection to tenants by requiring landlords to offer temporary accommodations to those tenants who are displaced by significant renovations, and the right of first refusal to reoccupy the same unit at the same rent after the renovations. Following adoption and a robust public engagement, public awareness campaign delivered to both landlords and tenants, the number of renovictions in the city decreased dramatically. You know, the jury felt that this was a very topical, a very innovative approach, which demonstrates courage in tackling a very controversial issue. This initiative showed creative and original thinking in how to use municipal regulatory tools effectively in the frontline trenches in face of a relatively new phenomenon and showing very measurable results. The jury believes that this approach demonstrates the power of development planning and can be mobilized in many communities, in any community, at any time. The jury went further this year, though, in its recognition by offering to the City of New Westminster also receiving an honorable mention for their New Westminster COVID-19 pandemic response, transforming planning practice and saving lives. The New Westminster Planning Division created a collaborative framework involving over 20 faith-based and nonprofit organizations, developing equitable and targeted responses to address their unique and diverse needs during the pandemic, enhancing livability and improving health outcomes. The jury felt that this submission was very, very timely, that it served as a template for other municipalities in addressing emergencies, and that it's worthy of honorable mention as a real step forward in resilience for our province.
We're pleased to be recognized for this very important work. On behalf of the Development Services Department at the City of New Westminster,
Thank you.
So let's move on to the next category. In the category of excellence in planning policy in, again, civic and urban areas, this year's gold winner is the City of Victoria for their Victoria Housing Strategy Phase 2, 2019-2022. This new version, a round of the Victoria Housing Strategy, envisions a future where everyone has access to an affordable home that meets their needs Phase 2 provides a comprehensive action plan to respond to the housing crisis and is the second part of a 10-year roadmap. It identifies housing as a human right, and it asserts that every Victorian deserves a safe and affordable home. And through the strategy, Victoria will advance 44 actions based on existing community feedback, based on current and meaningful evidence, based on promising practices and innovations that they have found elsewhere in the world. The strategy includes measurable outcomes that embed accountability and responsiveness throughout its implementation. And this was evidenced in the first year of implementation, where actions were refocused to address mounting housing insecurity that obviously was exacerbated by the onset of COVID-19. The jury felt that this strategy offers a wonderful roadmap for other municipalities with an aggressive approach to the housing crisis that addresses the full spectrum of housing need. This strategy is at the very heart of planners' responsibilities and shows what we can do, even if other sectors are not stepping up on what is seen by everyone in our province to be a huge crisis.
We're grateful to accept this award and hope that sharing our housing strategy with a wider audience will contribute to a greater collective understanding of housing as a human right. Thanks again to PIBC for giving Victoria this award, and we hope to be able to celebrate this achievement in person at a PIBC conference in the future. Thank you, PIBC.
Staying in this category, this year's silver winner is the City of North Vancouver for their Safe Mobility Strategy. The Safe Mobility Strategy is the city's practical playbook to guide transportation planning, design, and investment decisions in support of achieving a consistent year-over-year reduction in the rate of collisions on their streets that results in serious injuries or fatalities, no matter what people are using to get around, whether it's cars, walking, other mobility devices, or whatever. The jury felt that this submission was very innovative, illustrating simple and very executable strategies to achieving Vision Zero. The playbook provides low barriers for improving cities and urban areas throughout their context. They also appreciated the articulation of the importance of streets in urban health, and really appreciated that the analysis was really focused in at the human scale.
I'm Andrew Devlin, Manager of Transportation Planning here at the City of North Vancouver. I want to thank PIBC for selecting the city's Safe Mobility Strategy for a Silver Award in Excellence in Policy Planning this year. The development of this strategy was the culmination of a significant amount of work on the part of staff at the city's planning, engineering, and operations team, and also benefited from significant contributions from many key stakeholders in our community. Thank you, and congratulations to all the award recipients.
In the same category of excellence in planning policy, but now moving to small town and rural areas, this year's gold winner is Selmo Valley Early Childhood Advisory Committee, CNS Planning Group, John Foster Planning, Splash Design, and Geospatial Consulting for the Selmo Valley Child Care Inventory and Action Plan. The Selmo Valley Child Care Inventory and Action Plan is a 10-year strategic document to address the needs for childcare in the Selmo Valley, including the Village of Selmo, Weimar, and Area G. Selmo Valley has experienced an influx of young families moving into the areas and their demands for childcare, along with an exponential increase in the cost of housing. And these two factors have led to a strong demand for new spaces for quality, affordable, and accessible childcare. The goal of the plan is to support universal childcare for all families in the Selmo Valley in a way that would best reach local residents and work most effectively within existing organizations, amenities, and policy directions. That ground-up approach was successful in garnering support from both local governments, the Village of Selmo and the Regional District of Central Kootenay. The jury felt that a rural child care plan was a very aspirational target of universal childcare, and they felt that that was laudable and truly inspiring coming from this community. The report demonstrated a lot of empathy to those living with childcare struggles, and it really demonstrates that planning is much more than just land use considerations in the modern world.
Thank you, PIBC, for recognizing C&S Planning Group.
John Foster Planning.
Splash.
The Samuel Valley Early Childhood Advisory Committee.
We are
Thrilled.
Thrilled!
This year's silver winner in this category goes to the Thompson-Nicola Regional District for their North Thompson Official Development Plan. The North Thompson OCP provides a new path forward for an evolving economic and demographic reality in the whole area of the plan, specifically a growing outdoor recreation economy, rural population decline, and a diminished resource sector. The micro-regional approach used in this OCP will help to enable a new rural economy that nurtures a broader, more inclusive way to embrace future change, challenge historic norms, and celebrate connectivity across the whole area. Rigid land use designations are replaced with simple, flexible, and defensible policy for each community node, for each rural settlement area, and for each outlying electoral area. Natural amenity appreciation must now have equal status with resource extraction as a basis for residents and business retention and attraction. The jury felt that dealing with population decline is a really unique challenge that was tackled very well in this OCP with solid First Nations and public consultation. And the resulting DP guidelines are a huge win for a rural community. And we really liked the inclusion of the RV living as a really unique aspect.
Hi, I'm Alex Krause.
And I'm Dan Wallace from the TNRD.
On behalf of the Planning Services Department at the TNRD and our lead planner on this project, Dan Wallace, we wanted to say a big thank you, PIBC, and a big thanks to our technical support staff, including Mike in GIS and Ashley in Planning, who prepared the drawing behind me.
Thanks to our OCP Advisory Committee for keeping us on track, and CIMP First Nation for helping us tell their story. But most of all, we'd like to thank the residents of the North Thompson Valley who took the time to tell us about the places that they cared deeply. Thank you.
Thanks again.
Again, the jury went further in this category by finding also an honorable mention. The City of West Kelowna and Lanark Consulting received an honorable mention for West Kelowna's community vision, #OurWK, a vision to 2040. The #OurWK community vision is the first of its kind for West Kelowna, and it provides clear direction for council and the public on where this community wants to go in the future. The jury appreciated the novel approach of developing a very strong vision before diving deep into the OCP process itself. Despite the challenges from COVID-19, there was excellent success with engagement, and particularly the jury enjoyed the connections to those young people 19 or younger. We felt that that was impressive and that it was worthy of an honorable mention. So moving on to another category, in the category of research and new directions, this year's gold winner is Third Space Community Planning and Generation Squeeze for Regulating Short-Term Rentals, a toolkit for Canadian local governments. This toolkit is a practical resource for local governments who are considering designing or evolving their short-term rental regulations. This is a service to local governments in a range of contexts, pursuing a variety of short-term rental policy objectives, from protecting housing for residents to ensuring tourism growth to creating regulatory equity. It's divided into 4 parts. It includes a background with which details the history and rise of short-term rental, an in-depth section that explores the impacts of short-term rental on housing availability and affordability, a step-by-step guide on how to develop effective short-term rental regulatory and enforcement programs, as well as snapshots of the 17 most common regulatory tools that local governments employ, such things related to business licensing or requirements of principal residence. The jury felt that this toolkit is an accessible grab-and-go resource that a lot of useful research has been included, and that it builds in flexibility for a range of community goals. The enforcement angle is often overlooked in planning, and the jury really appreciated that this aspect had also been addressed.
Hi everyone, I'm Shannon Jameson and this is Eric Swanson. We are the authors of the Short-Term Rental Regulatory Toolkit. Thank you so much PIBC for this award. Eric and I are extremely grateful to have had the opportunity to develop this toolkit. We couldn't have done it without the generous contributions of time and energy from hundreds of local governments across the country, as well as our advisory committee.
We'd also like to thank this project's funders, including the Real Estate Foundation of BC, Federation of Canadian Municipalities, Vancouver Foundation, Landlord BC, and Granicus. And we hope that local governments, regardless of size or context, can find something in this toolkit to help. Thanks again.
In the same category, this year's silver winner is Plus Urban Consulting Incorporated for Child in the City, Planning Communities for Children and Their Families. This publication presents a holistic, inclusive, and implementation-centered approach to planning and designing child-friendly communities. Child and family-friendly communities acknowledge that an environment which addresses the needs of children who have limited independent mobility, experience, and autonomy is one that is also friendlier to and more inclusive to people of all ages and abilities. To plan our cities in a way that enable all residents to be co-authors of their own communities is key to a sustainable and inclusive future. The jury was really excited to see such a comprehensive and well-conceived study, relevant, well-researched, and well-written. It's a great tool for planners, and toolkits are provided that are very transferable to jurisdictions outside of planning as well. Our last award is the Annual Student Fellowship, which provides funding to support student members' attendance at and participation in the Institute's annual conference in order that they may present their academic work to professional colleagues and other people attending the conference, as well as being an integral part, an important part of the program of the annual conference. This is a great start for students in their career to have the chance to present and to be acknowledged. And it's also on the record as they move forward. We have 3 winners for this year's award. That award goes to first, Sarah Falks from Vancouver Island University, Master of Community Planning program. That's a great program, by the way, for the presentation, Planning for Sustainable Seaweed Aquaculture on Vancouver Island. Second, to Mafanwi Pope from Simon Fraser University School of Resource and Environment Management Planning for the presentation, Indigenous Housing Governance, Lessons from a First Nations Housing Needs Assessment Off Reserve. And finally, but not leastly, to Dawn Smith with University of BC School of Community and Regional Planning for the presentation, Implementing UNDRIP to support First Nations-led planning. So be sure to check out these presentations in the post-conference session 01, Research and New Directions for Tomorrow's Planners. So Emilie and ladies and gentlemen, that's our celebration for this year's achievements in planning. Thank you to everyone who made a submission this year, and our congratulations, big time, go out to all of this year's winners. I say to everyone practicing in British Columbia, please consider making a submission for next year's PIBC Awards program to help us recognize and celebrate the places and people and projects and plans throughout our membership, contributing to the communities and regions right across British Columbia and the Yukon. We were all sorry to see that there were not submissions this year for the award of individual achievement. So we encourage right across the profession, everyone to consider celebrating our colleagues next year through a submission, a nomination next year. For the entire awards program, we invite the audience to check PIBC's website and upcoming Planning West for more details. So thank you for watching, everyone. I'm excited. I know the winners are excited, and we hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. Thanks a lot.